Catch Texas in Color every Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Please don't do that. All right, we're looking at 58 minutes after the hour here. Getting ready to start Texas in Color here. And I'll tell you, I got Mr. Love here, and it is an honor to have him on this morning. Have Sabrina right there in the background. And we have been, Texas in Color is something that was a brainchild of Tammy Lambert. She came up with the idea, and then all of a sudden it was reality. And this is probably one of the best things that we could have done for the voters here, to educate them on what's going on, and just to get them enlightened on the candidates all around the state of Texas, not just in your community, but all of Texas. And this is a good thing to have. And good morning, Mr. Love.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
All right. All right. And good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning, Sabrina.
Oh, she's listening. All right, I'd like to thank you on coming on Texas in Color. After reading about you and your ancestry start in Tulsa, I thought it was only right for you for us to have you here, so our listeners to learn more about you. And we appreciate you taking the time out coming on.
Yes, sir. My pleasure. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, I was going to say, well, who is John Love the third, and why are you running for election in Texas Congressional 6th District? Congressional, yeah. So, okay.
John Love the third. Can you believe it? There's two more before me. Unbelievable. I am a 7-year city councilman for the city of Midland, mayor pro tem twice. I served on the Border Trade Advisory Committee for the state of Texas. I'm the 110th president of the Texas Municipal League, and I've served on various other boards and been involved in community for all of my adult life. The reason why I am running for U.S. Congress is because I don't like bullies. And I think that what we are seeing in politics today is a lot of bullying going on. I think I'm a very difficult person to bully. And I want to focus on the issues and solving the problems that we have that are set before this country. We've got a lot of finger pointing going on and a lot of accusations, name calling, mudslinging, and I just don't think that's necessary. I think that the people want individuals to represent them who are going to take care of the business of this country and this state. So that's why I'm running.
And you in a unique county, you're in Navarro County. Tell us a little bit more about the county.
Navarro County, named after Jose Antonio Navarro. He was one of two actual Texans who signed the Texas Declaration of Independence. So I'm proud of that. I live in a small community called Pelham. It's a freedmen's colony. After hearing the reading of the Emancipation Proclamation on June 19th, 1865, the original Juneteenth, my mother's ancestors marched from Galveston north to Navarro County and established this colony where I live today. It's southeast of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The county seat is Corsicana. It's a rural county, but there's lots of good people who have the same dreams that all of us have, who want to take care of family, want to be gainfully employed, want to have a quality of life that includes affordability and quality healthcare and great, strong education.
Now, one thing I got to say about your district, I looked at the map. I look at all the maps, but this one's unique. It turns around and tucks and runs right in between Fort Worth and Dallas. I mean, right there. That was planned, wasn't it?
Very much so. I don't know if you've met this gentleman. His name is Jerry Mander. And that's exactly what is going on, gerrymandering. The district is part of Irving, part of Grand Prairie, part of Arlington, and then it's gerrymandered to the southeast to include the cities of Mansfield, Midlothian, Waxahachie, Ennis, Corsicana, Hillsborough, Fairfield, and Palestine.
Yeah, because when I looked at it, I said, well, I said they went right straight through where they get all the Republicans right in this little niche right up in there. And most of them would be like stopped somewhere, but this is very unique on how they did it. And what goes on? I'm gonna ask this question. I got others, but what goes into their minds in redistricting and doing this? Is it? I know it's for their favor to stay in power forever, but the only way we could get that done if we get enough Democrats elected in there to stop this.
That's exactly right. That's what they do. They are using their position as being head of the state legislature to draw the lines in their favor. I believe this district has basically changed every 2 years since Phil Gramm. You know, this district used to be the representative was Phil Gramm. He had it for 20 years. And if you remember, he switched the last 2 years that he served to the Republican Party. And then he went on and became senator for the United States and for Texas, excuse me. After his service, the district was held by Joe Barton. Joe Barton had it for about 20 years as a Republican, and unfortunately, he had to resign amidst a sexual scandal. And then after that, I believe the representative was Representative Wright. He had a couple of years that he served. And, you know, God bless him. Unfortunately, he was, you know, some of your listeners might remember this. He was the Texas Republican who was a COVID denier. And then subsequently, he passed away from COVID. And then the current incumbent,
Now,
they
John,
had, yes, ma'am. Oh, the current
I
incumbent,
apologize. I have a short.
I'm sorry, ma'am,
No,
I
go
didn't
ahead,
hear you.
continue, please.
Oh, I was just going to finish up by saying that the current incumbent is Jake Elzey. He won a special election that went to a runoff that he won, and he has been the congressman in this area ever since.
Hmm. Okay.
I was just going to ask you, you was mentioning the former House representative that is in your area. Can you kind of expound on how the redistricting kind of how that developed? Because a lot of people don't understand your House representatives are the ones who go into um, that decides on the redistricting based on the census, and that's every 10 years. And then that information is then sent down to your commissioners, and then they decide on where your polling locations are, which is another component of redistricting. So I just wanted you to expound on how that process works, and then the office that you're running for, how does that kind of correlate with all of this in reference to your.
Sabrina, I'm sorry. I had a really hard time understanding and hearing you. I don't know if it's on my end, but you came out muffled. I think you were asking me about redistricting and how does that process work? Is that correct?
Are you able to hear me now?
Much better. Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe so. I have some interference going on here. I'll go ahead and just yield the floor to Ron. Go ahead, Ron.
Okay. What she was asking was what the redistricting is done every 10 years. And it's only the House, if I'm right, that could make those changes.
Yes, the state of Texas legislature is the one who makes that. And I may be uninformed, but if you look at the district map, it has changed. It was different a couple of years ago, and it was different before that. And I've talked to several people who one year they're in the district and another year they're not in the district. So how the process actually works, I don't know because I'm not a Texas state legislature, but I do know that they do it, and they meet and they decide where the lines are going to go. And of course, it's based on the population. I believe each congressional district in this nation has approximately 840, 850,000 people. So that's what they have to do. They'd have to draw those lines to include 840, 850,000 people in a district. And they get very creative doing so.
Oh, yeah, they do, don't they?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what are some of the concerns? For 29 years, Republicans have been dominating all three of the government branches here in Texas. What are your highest priorities, and why should they send you to DC?
My highest priority, there's a lot of them. If I had to put one, because we've got a lot of issues and we have a lot of problems in this country. If I had to put one first, it would have to be voting rights. I think that that is where the breakdown occurs and exists. We have to strengthen our voting rights. It's imperative that we do so. And what we've got to do is we've got to make it easier for everyone to vote. We've got to stop the efforts that make voting harder, and we've got to expand the right to vote. But there's a whole bunch of issues that come after that. There's healthcare, making sure everyone can afford and get medical care, keep the Affordable Care Act strong and reduce the cost of medicines. There's economic inequality. We've got to work to reduce the gap between rich and poor people. It's imperative we raise the minimum wage, support workers' rights, and create policies that help average and low-income people. Hot topic here in Texas is education. Vouchers is nothing but a tax cut for the wealthy. I mean, it's just common sense. Private schools have expensive tuition, and the $8,000 that is going to come in the form of that would come in the form of a voucher will not pay for the annual tuition in most private schools. Therefore, it's just tax cuts for wealthy, for those who are already sending their kids to private schools. And it's just an opportunity for them to revisit desegregation of schools. They want to destroy public schools, and I think they want to take a Christian national stance on education. And so what we've got to do is we've got to increase money for public schools. We've got to make college more affordable, which only makes sense. Why would we not want to have Americans have the best education possible so they can compete globally? And we've got to support teachers and school staff. There's climate change, there's gun control, there's criminal justice reform, there's immigration and borders, healthcare access and women's rights to reproductive care and healthcare. And then there's LGBTQ issues, anti-discrimination laws, marriage equality, and things like that. So we've got a lot, we've got our hands full, and it disappoints me and sometimes downright just disgusts me to see politicians just name calling and making allegations that have nothing to do with the issues at hand that we're facing as a country.
And that was one of the points I brought up on my show this morning on how is it one side is talking about what they want to do for the country, where we need to go. They're talking about the future, while the other side is dwelling on the past and name calling, belittling people, calling them names. I'm trying to figure out, what are your policies? And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just said, I don't hear the policies coming out. All I hear is just anger.
Well, you're not going to hear their policies. The literal definition of conservative means you don't want change. So when you don't want anything to change, you don't have anything to bring forth to the people that would encourage them to support you. So what they do is, since they don't want change, then they try to scare the people. They try to scare the people about change. And so that's really all they have to offer. They offer name calling, allegations. It comes from the top down. It comes from 45. It comes from him, and it extends all the way out, even to local elections. I served on local city council. But when you don't want anything to change, you have no policies. And therefore, in order for you to get your side to vote for you, the only thing that you have is just to scare them, to put up the boogeyman, no matter what it is. It's whether it's progression, whether it's African Americans, whether it's LGBTQ, whether it's, women have too much control over their bodies, whatever it is, you want to try to scare them into thinking that your opposition is evil incarnate. And that's all they have. That's all they can do.
Wow. Yeah, you're right about that. What are the biggest challenges in the state of Texas?
Education, border, healthcare. Those are the three big ones right there. And then the fourth one is an economy that is diversified. Look, this has been an oil and gas state for a very long time. I'm from Midland, Odessa area. And it's been an agricultural state for a very long time. Well, now, because of the fact that Texas doesn't have an income state and the fact that we tend to be business friendly, it's starting to become the corporation capital, so to speak. Lots of corporations are relocating their headquarters here in Texas. So we just need to shore that up and make sure that those companies that come here are doing right by workers. And I think that we need to encourage and provide access and opportunity to small business owners to develop small business and to diversify the economy. Oil and gas is here. We want to move away to renewables, but it's here right now. And unless we can come up with something that replaces the internal combustion engine, it's going to be here for a little while. And we've just got to be able to transition away from it. That does not mean, and this is one of the conservative scare tactics, this does not mean that we're going to get rid of your job and take your job, because studies have shown that there are quality, high-paying jobs in renewable energy. And this is the energy state, the leader in America. And if anybody can do it, Texans can do it. Not to mention that the largest investors in renewables are oil and gas companies.
Yeah, right here. So, what are some of the issues in your area, and what is your platform on about those issues?
Well, I mentioned most of them already. The same issues that are affecting our area are the same issues that are affecting this state and this nation. People are concerned about the border and immigration. People are concerned about education and the voucher system, economic inequality and diversification of our industry. They're concerned about inflation. I have an economics degree, and inflation is not something that a president does or doesn't do. It's a whole bunch of things that come into play. But what it does do is it makes the quality of life for people. I hear wealthy people complaining about inflation, and they have the right to do so, but no one feels the effect of inflation more than your average income American or the poor.
Speaking about that, Texas still $7.25 an hour for minimum wage. Texas still feel that people could make it with that. I would challenge any one of them leaders to go out and get a job and see how they could make it on that little bit of money. And then they talk about inflation is out of control. This is that, this is that. And basically the economy is running pretty good. Inflation is a little high, but across Texas, I'm gonna jump from inflation to education. our schools are last in the country in education. I read that point the other day. I said, how is that? So I know a couple people who are school teachers, and they said, Ron, part of the problem is we're too busy teaching this test. So kids learn how to take a test and don't learn the real math, English, history. They're too busy teaching that test. What are your outlooks on that?
Let's go back to your first point, inflation and minimum wage. I talked about inflation earlier. It is an erosion of wealth, is what it is. It reduces your buying power. And that's exactly what keeping the minimum wage does as well, because everything else is tied to or indexed to inflation. CEO salaries are going up, expenses are going up, everything is going up except the minimum wage. And I would say if we didn't have a minimum wage, they definitely would try to pay less than what the minimum wage is currently. But there's also this false assumption that if you raise the minimum wage, that businesses are going to shut down and it's not going to be viable for small businesses. That's not how economies work. They're not really self-sufficient, but they're self-contained in the sense that if you raise wages here, then something else will happen over here. And they're concerned about price increases with wage increases, and that's a healthy price increase. What's not a healthy price increase is price gouging and taking advantage of the consumers in situations like we saw during COVID. To your second question, teaching the test and education being last in Texas, most people don't realize that the state of Texas has a constitutional requirement to educate the children of Texas. It's right there in the Constitution, and the state of Texas, for being as dominated by conservatives in the legislature, not dominated by conservatives in the populace, because there's a misnomer that Texas is a conservative state. It's not. It's a state where conservatives outvote liberals. Lost my train of thought. But the education in Texas, yes, it is required by the state legislature to educate those children. And so what they did, they really didn't want to do that, but it was a requirement. So what they did is they came up with Robin Hood, which has been a total disaster. Instead of budgeting for education and appropriating it out of the sales tax that the state of Texas collects, they decided to take money from rich communities and spread it out across communities that are not as wealthy. And that inherently causes a problem. I mean, if you take money out of my pocket and you give it to somebody else, I'm going to have a problem with it. So that's what they decided to do instead of that 6% that the state, 6.25% that the state collects for sales tax, which we've got money. We can have enough money to educate the children of Texas. I just don't think they want to. I know conservatives don't want to. Which is amazing to me, because as a guy with an economics degree, and I said this earlier, you want your citizens to be as educated as possible so that they can compete amongst states and globally. Yeah. And so we've got to fix that. We have to fix that and make sure that everyone can have access to not only affordable healthcare, but affordable education. It depends on it. I'm a small business owner, and it helps me out to have qualified, competent, educated members of society who I can employ, just like every other business owner in this state wants.
Yeah, on the touch point on education, the vouchers, this was brought up on the previous shows, how some money is there for the public schools, and Abbott is just sitting on it, and he wants to use that money for vouchers, which you said gonna go to the rich. And so it's just like he don't want to educate, don't want to give that money up for the public school districts, and that's money that we need. That's money that's there for us. So it's just like he's got the power to do what he wants to do. I'm sorry, my opinion is nobody should have that much power to hold on to money like that that's meant for the public.
Yeah, I agree. But what you've got to understand is Abbott doesn't really represent the people of Texas. He represents certain economic interests of Texas. And if you look at who is funding and promoting the voucher system in Texas, it's Texas billionaires, it's oil and gas billionaires, and it's tied specifically to Christian nationalism, which has nothing to do with Christianity. Unfortunately, I'm a Christian, but one of the things that I think that the African American church should do is rise up and stand up to this Christian nationalism that is running rampant all over this country. To me, I see it as nothing more than a wing of white supremacy. It is a opportunity, or excuse me, it's not an opportunity. It's they want to control your lives. They want to control what you do. They want to control how you live. And at the same time, they talk about they're for freedom and they're proud to be an American because at least they know they're free. Well, you're enslaving others with your rhetoric and your ideology and your policies. You're making it difficult for people to live because of the way you think people should live. Look, God made people to be different and to be diverse. And that's what we should be embracing so that Texans, all Texans, not just a select few, all Texans have the opportunity to succeed because that's how we continue to be a leader, a state that leads in certain areas. We're behind in a lot of areas, but imagine what we could do if we turned that around and started providing quality public education and started accepting the money from Medicaid to be able to take care of the citizens of Texas. We could be an incredibly much more successful state and powerful state that does right by the people.
Yeah. Now, I was talking to somebody the other day. They brought up a good point. They say, now, how is it the same people are telling us that nobody's going to tell me to wear a mask during the pandemic? Nobody's going to tell me to do that. But yet, on the other hand, they want to tell us what to do. And I say, you know what? You doggone right on that one. That doesn't make any sense. They could tell you can't force me to wear a mask, but they forcing us to do what they want.
Right.
So
don't do what I do, do what I say. You have heard that old adage. And again, you know, I used the term white supremacy earlier, and I don't want people to get confused by the think that I'm talking about, you know, KKK or bigots or racists or that type of thing that you see every day. That is a part of it, but the bigger umbrella of it is control. And it is the thought, the thinking that other people should not have the ability to control their own destiny. And that's extremely dangerous. And that is what we all should be fighting for. There are white people who are against white supremacy because they understand how dangerous it is and what it's doing to this country. I will tell you that Republicans are so entrenched in it that they're against freedom and democracy, and they would rather support Putin and Russia than to have Mexican Americans, Latinos, AAPI, African Americans, LGBTQ plus, to come in and have a say in how this country is run. They would rather hand the country over to them than to allow its own citizens to control their own destiny. And that's really sad.
It is.
So, is there any nationalist movements or organizations in your area, in your district that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, but they're all over the state. I know that you know, they don't call themselves white supremacists, and some of them, few of them use the moniker Christian nationalists, but you can tell by their activity and what they do. I'm not really out there with those people, so, and their organizations, but I'm pretty confident that they are around us all.
Mhm. Okay, why should the voters elect you, and what type of leader will you be?
Voters should elect me because I believe in the people. I believe in the preamble to the Constitution. You know, we the people, in order to create a more perfect union, to establish justice, to ensure domestic tranquility, to provide for the common defense, and to promote the welfare. Right there, it tells you what we should be doing as a nation, and we have gotten away from all of that, except, of course, promoting defense. But the very first thing is establish justice. And that's what we've got to do. So why should citizens vote for me? Because I'm honest, I'm fair, I've got a great track record, I listen. I'm not one of those, you know, I hear something all the time about, well, that politician flipped flopped. Well, you know, if you are wrong, then it makes no sense to continue to stay down that wrong path just because you don't want to change how you view and how you do things. So I'm not above changing. I've been wrong before. I'm sure I'll be wrong again. And I can admit when I'm wrong. But more importantly, we need people with common sense who can not get bogged down into the mudslinging and the name calling, but who are strong enough to fight against it. And that's why citizens should vote for John Love. Look at my track record, look at who I am. And I think it's a pretty easy decision.
Yeah. With the November election coming up, and it's right around the corner, is at that
Yes.
threshold, what can we do to help your campaign?
I would love for people to support my campaign through, obviously, donations. You know, it's quite challenging to raise money in Texas as a Democrat, and it's been quite a challenge. So I would love for people to go to johnlovefortexas.com and contribute what they can, when they can, as much as they can, between now and November. Also, if you love democracy and you don't like bullies and you want to do something against what's happening in this country, I suggest that you join me and possibly volunteer, or even if it's not my campaign, um, you know, volunteer or support campaigns in your area, because this is only happening because of our inaction. None of this happens if we stand up, we go to the polls, and we vote. You know, for a long time, we used to say, you know, we got to register people to vote. We've got to register people to vote. And now we realize that that is not enough. Stacey Abrams has proved to us that not only do we have to register people to vote, but we've got to get people to the polls to vote. And whatever it is that they throw at us, as far as voting laws are concerned, we've got to make sure that we operate within the law and still go vote. And there's no better symbol of that than Fannie Lou Hamer, who was taking a bus trip and The bus stopped, and some of the people on the bus got off and went into a restaurant and tried to get service. And of course, it was whites only, and they didn't get service. And then the sheriff was called, and Fannie was on the bus at the time. And when the sheriff showed up, she got off the bus, and they took everybody on that bus to jail. And as soon as Fannie Lou was bailed out of jail, she went right back to registering people to vote. People don't understand that in capitalism, the currency is the money of the country, the dollar here in America. In democracy, the currency is the vote. And we're not spending our currency at all correct. Well, we're spending it, but we're not spending it as much as we could and as much as we should, because we outnumber the conservatives, we outnumber the Republicans. We just tend to stay at home because we think that our vote doesn't matter. And it's a heck of a mind trick to convince someone that their vote doesn't matter, especially when the whole purpose of voting is the accumulation and total of votes. So your vote definitely matters. Now, the question might come is, well, my candidate didn't win. Well, that's okay, because some of the most important votes that I ever had the opportunity to cast were for candidates who didn't win. But it was still an important vote to go out and let people know who I support and who I think is right to lead our cities, our states, our counties, and our nation.
Yeah. I know one song I play all the time is Sam Cooke, "A Change Is Gonna Come."
Change is gonna come.
But I tagged it. I said, the only way the change is gonna come if you go out and vote for that change. We could
It's not
say
gonna
it
fall
all
out of the
day.
sky.
Yep. We got I listened to that song and it came up with changes will come if you get up and vote. Because I met 3 brothers that never voted at all. And I asked them why. They said, well, it's not going to do me any good to vote. I said, you have kids? Yes. You have grandkids? Yes. That's going to affect them.
We're too entrenched in a now society, a me society. We don't understand the concept that, you plant a tree not for your use today, but for future generations. And that this world, this country is not about specifically you. It's about us. And we've gotten away from that. So I think it's pretty selfish to think that it doesn't benefit and it doesn't affect me. Well, you're not the only person.
Right.
And there are people who need help and who need healthcare, who want a good quality education, who don't want to drink contaminated water or breathe poor air, and they need your help and they need your vote.
Exactly on that right there.
Yes, sir.
Well, Mr. Love,
Yeah.
we appreciate you coming on this morning on Texas in Color. We're going to be looking forward for the election. I'm looking forward to congratulate each and every one of you when you win. We're
Looking forward to it.
And I'm claiming it in my heart. I feel that it's going to be a change. And it's going to be a dramatic shift, and the power of the people will come through. And one thing I must say, when you said how they take things away, my ancestors was very resilient in the things that they did. We got to be the same way right now. No matter what they throw at us, we should be able to duck and dodge, bob and weave, and just keep on going. No woe is me, just keep it going.
Yes,
And
I agree.
yeah, so
I'm reading the biography of Benjamin Davis right now, who, if you don't know who he is, you definitely should Google him and find out. There's Benjamin Davis Sr. and Benjamin Davis Jr. They both were military men and they were incredible. Jr. Went to West Point, and the things that happened to him at West Point are unbearable. But he rose above that and he became the incredible person that he did become. And so there's a lot of lessons in there. We don't have to be victims of our circumstance, even though our circumstance victimizes us. We have the ability to always choose something better, work for something better, work for something harder, work hard, express ourselves and take care of our family and our community. That's what we need to do. That's why I'm asking for the people who live in my district, I'm asking for their vote, and for the people who live in my district and don't live in my district, in this state, around this country. If you want a good person and you want good people in office, because here's the mantra that I often hear is that government is evil. You hear it from the conservatives, and that's not true. It's people in government who are evil that make government evil, right? No matter what the type of government that exists, there's the opportunity for it to do some good. King Solomon of the Bible was a king and was a dictator, but he was a good and benevolent king and did well for his people. So it's not the form of government, it's the people in government. And government will change when you change the people who are in there. Get them out and get some people who love this country and who want to serve this country. I'm off my soapbox. I appreciate your time today.
Hold on, I got one more question for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What do you think about Harris' pick with Walz?
I think that it was a really, really good pick on her part. Walz is strong with the unions, which I support unions. My mom and dad were members of the letter carriers union, so I grew up in a union family. And I think that he is the right person to take the fight to 45 and Vance. And I think it was a good pick. I think she did good. I will tell you though, before the choices were brought to our attention of who she was going to pick, I would have loved to have seen another female, another minority that she could have at least vetted and chose from. But hey, I am 100% behind Kamala and Walz. So.
Okay. Well, Mr. Love, thank you for dropping on by. And like I said, I'm looking forward to calling everybody up, saying congratulations coming late November 5th, or maybe in the morning, November 6th, somewhere down the line.
Hey, call me as soon as the votes are tallied. As soon as they read my name, call me.
I sure will, sir. All right,
I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Sabrina, thank you for inviting me here and bringing this to my attention. And JohnLoveForTexas.com. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you for watching Texas in Color. Please tune in every Wednesday at 11 a.m. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button so you'll be notified each and every time we go on live.